Hey Girl Scouts, it's Kate, the Digital Media Specialist for Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan, and today we are going to go over the Junior Gardener Badge, Steps 2 and 5. For Step 2, we'll explore different garden designs and how you can create your own. One of my favorite places to go when I'm looking for creative ideas is Pinterest. As you can see on here, there's so many different types that you could do one in a mason jar, you could do one in a pallet, you could make one with just some wood and raise a bed up. You could even do a tiny one inside of a little pot on your windowsill, just whatever you have available at your house. So we're going to explore some designs and then we're going to give a demonstration on how to build a garden later in this video. And later, at the very end of this video, we'll also be showing you how you can store your vegetables in your garden and save them for all winter long. One of the ways that you could design your garden is by drawing inside of your journal if you're really good at art. You might have seen in one of our previous videos for virtual programming, the Book Artist Badge, and how you could lay out your own garden plans, just like this. Now, I'm not the best at drawing, so the way that I decided to go about at least laying out the basics of what we wanted to do for our garden is just going into Photoshop and adding in different parts of what we wanted. Here we have the garden beds, and then we'll add in the castle blocks, and these are special because you can actually put wood boards in between them and it will hold it in its place. We also want to add some pavers so we can have a walkway around our garden and in between our garden. Then, so we can keep out critters, we also want to add in a green fence. So I'm going to put a green line around this so we can see what a fence would look like around this. And then of course you would need the wooden stakes put in place so that the fence stays where it is. And then so we have easy access in and out, we'll add a gate. And 2 potter plants in the back in case we want to add something to grow up a vine like a tomato plant. First things first, you'll want to make sure that you have enough wood planks if you're doing a bigger garden bed, and make sure that they're all roughly around the same size so that it lines up when you put it all together. For us, we decided to use our resources wisely and use some wooden planks that we had from an old swing set we had in our backyard. So these will work perfectly for what we need.
And good one.
Oh, how fun. They will help our garden. Once you've laid out your wood planks for your garden beds, you want to start adding in the castle blocks, and you might need to move these around a bit based on where you laid things down originally. The nice thing about these castle bricks is that you can easily move them around and make the pallet beds bigger or smaller based on where you need it. You also want to make sure that there's enough room for pavers in between. So we put a paver down just to make sure that there is enough room to walk in between the garden beds. The next step after you get the wood planks and the castle bricks in is to put down the weed blocker. This is the weed blocker that we are using. There's many different varieties of this out there. This one supposedly is supposed to last up to 20 years, so this garden will be thriving for a very long time, hopefully. And we can keep it nice and clean and make sure that it's functional. Now, we weren't entirely sure when doing this how many rolls it were going to take. As we went, we ended up deciding that we needed 3 rows of blocker across this, just based on the plant beds that we made. Be mindful of a windy day, because it's very possible if you're doing this on a windy day that you might get wrapped up in the weed tarp and Might get tangled up a little bit, but that's okay. You can have fun along with this process. And as you can see here at the end of this video that we were just one row short, so we had to go back out and get some more. Next comes the dirt. So we decided to put in some dirt in the middle bed so that way we could figure out exactly how many bags of soil that we would need for the other two. And this way we can use what we already have in our backyard as well. So this is just dirt that we're using from an old rabbit cage that we had in our backyard. So the soil is kind of fertilized from the rabbits. So after adding all the dirt that we had, plus the bags that we bought, which were about 8 of this topsoil, we still ended up needing at least another 4 to fill this bed. So we figured roughly it takes about 12 bags of soil to fill each of our garden beds. As you can see here, there's many different types of soil. So the one in back is a little bit in between, and the one in the middle is a lighter color, and then this one here is actually a darker topsoil. So it'll be interesting to see which one of these actually does the best because they all have a different type of soil. And you can experiment with different types of soil too. You want to make sure that you get it nice and flat and even, just so when you go to plant your garden rows, everything is proportional and even with the soil. Third time's the charm. We ended up making a third trip so we could get more soil. And those bags are really heavy, so it takes some time to get all those soil bags in your backyard and fill up your garden bed. So you might have to go back to the store a couple times just to get all the supplies that you need for this. As you can see here from the dogs in the backyard, it looks like that we might need our fence up so that way they can stay out of there, and other little critters we can keep out from eating our tomatoes and other yummy vegetables that we're going to grow. For the front of our garden, so we can get in and out, we decided to use a dog gate. You can actually buy just the front part of the gate and not the entire cage, and that way it can swing open and you can move easily in and out of your garden. Next, we wanted to make sure that the wooden stakes were evenly spread apart. So we laid those out and then measured them accordingly of how far in the ground we wanted to be, so that way they were all exactly the same height. Next, we just took the staple gun and went around and put a staple in every single wooden post to the green mesh. Now we have this nice fence. Now we can keep out little critters from digging holes in our garden, even though it is a lot of fun for the dogs to play. And there you have it, there's our garden so far, and we added 2 extra pots in the back for extra plants. Now comes the really fun part, picking out the plants. So we went to Quarry Lake Orchards, and this is where we like to get a lot of our different fruits and vegetables from. During this time of year, one of my favorite things to do is go and pick strawberries here. They also have a really great plant selection of starter plants that you can grow right in your garden, and they also have produce that you can purchase. So they have tomatoes, zucchini, blueberries, all sorts of things throughout the different seasons for you to purchase. And we always love supporting our local places, especially because they have such great prices for everything we need. And last but not least comes the part where we add in the rows to our garden bed and we plant our seeds. You may want to research different plants and vegetables that you want to add into your garden. Some things are not in season or won't grow this time of year. So for instance, like asparagus, that is actually more of a winter thing. So those ones you would plant in the fall and those would grow in the springtime. In our garden, we've added strawberries, cucumbers, tomatoes, zucchini, and some squash, and a few other vegetables as well, just to see and experiment what we can grow this year. And there you have it. Our garden is ready to grow. We just added in a sprinkler so that the plants get the nutrients that they need, and we'll see in a few months what happens. To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. Trust the seeds you sow today, and one day it will blossom into something beautiful and meaningful. Just think about, once you have your garden growing, all the vegetables that you'll be able to go out and collect and bring into your own home and incorporate them into your meals. How exciting is that? As an extra bonus, when we were at the orchard, we decided to pick up 40 pounds worth of asparagus, because this is a family that loves asparagus. And because asparagus will no longer be in season here soon, we decided to buy as much of it as we could so we could freeze it and save it for all winter long to enjoy it.
Now that we've picked our asparagus, we're going to go to the next step of how to process it so we can have it and eat it all winter long. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off that end, and then we're just going to cut it like that and put it in to the colander. The next step we're going to do is called blanching, and we're going to set our vegetables down into hot water, boiling water, for 2 minutes on the timer, and this partially cooks it. The next step we're going to do is put our vegetables into an ice bath. So I've already got some ice in there and very cold water. So now we're going to take this colander and we're going to go and get our vegetable here, our nice green asparagus, and we're going to dump it into the ice bath. And what this does is it stops the process of the vegetable cooking. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. Just take a bath in there. Okay. Now we're going to take the asparagus out of the cold ice bath. And the reason why we did that was so that it would stop cooking. Now we're going to pour it onto a paper towel because we want this to be completely dry before we put it in the freezer. Oops. Now that our asparagus is dry, we're going to put it onto a cookie sheet that has parchment paper on it. Oh, yeah, that's cool. And we're going to spread it out on the parchment paper so it won't stick to one another, hopefully. And then we're going to put it in the freezer. We're going to freeze it, and then our last step will be sealing it in a bag. Okay. All right. Now we're going to take it and we're going to put it into the freezer. We are on our last step of preparing the asparagus for freezing. So we're going to take it out of the freezer. If you remembered, we had put it on the cookie sheets all dry, and now you can see it's all loose and very frozen and not stuck together, and that's the biggest part. So we've chosen to use our vacuum seal saver here, where some people, you can just use gallon-sized bags. So, maybe 2 cups in there. Okay, so we're going to put 2 cups in there because we like asparagus a lot. Uh-oh, and it's really good for you. All right. There we go, it's in the bag. Now, I'm going to put it here, lock it down, and it's going to suck all the air out. Ready for the noise. Voila! Vacuum sealed asparagus. And this is really good because we don't have any water sucked in there, and it would have got really smushy, the vegetable would have, if we had left it with water inside it. That's why we freeze it separately first. And now it can go back into the freezer and be all ready to eat all winter long.
And that's the end of our video. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and we hope you enjoyed seeing our garden and what we're going to do, and what you could do at home to plant your own garden. Once you've completed this badge, if you want to keep working on it, you can go to girlscoutshop.com/gshom to purchase the badge, or you can contact your local retail shop to place an order. And thanks for tuning in. Happy gardening!